Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z Martin, and tonight we are looking at the must-watch episodes of Season 9. But before we launch into that, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Lola.
My name's Lola Lariscy. I got my little sheet and I'm highlighting things and bolding and italicizing, and I don't have much of a life, but I have been a fan of Supernatural since 2005.
Okay. Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a fan of Supernatural since season 3. I started writing fanfic in 2012, and I am one of the co-hosts of the Spotify podcast, So Get This, The Lore of Supernatural.
Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna Kensing. I've been a fan pretty much since the very beginning. I remember watching season 1. I don't know if I started with the pilot, but I was watching it sort of live on the air back when TV only came bump on, certain days. I have dabbled in some fanfic and kept going in watching the show and have been a fan ever since.
Melissa.
I've been a fan since the pilot aired, and on real TV where you had to get up. I had to get up and change the channel. And Kitty, who is off screen at the moment, has been a fan since 2020.
Okay. And I'm Gail Z Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance, but all my modern worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. Been a fan since the middle of season 11, fell in love with the show, binge watched 11 seasons in 4 months to be ready for season 12, fell down the rabbit hole, and have, ever since then been proudly proclaimed an obsessed fan. So season 9, let's talk about the episodes that we think everybody should make sure they see. Lola, what's your, we'll mention one episode each time. We'll just keep going around till we run out of time or episodes. Lola, give us one.
Okay, I'm going to start with Firstborn. I rewatched that one today. Tim Amundsen. I love the dude in Psych. I loved him in Jericho. He's just awesome. I just love him to death. He just seems like a great human being. And he's perfect as Kane because he's got that original emo brooding, but it doesn't come off as contrived. It comes off as earned, which over multiple thousands of years, it would be earned. And let's see, we got some great Crowley quotes. Okay. Crowley says, I do love a good buddy comedy. That's awesome. Crowley, when they're going to John's little, his little shed, Crowley says, let's go to find Daddy's man cave, shall we? And then when he sees it, he calls the decor rustic, obsessive, paranoid deco. And I love the Kane origin story because you hear about Kane. He was the first murderer. He killed his brother and you think that's awful. What a douchebag. But then we learned that he had to as the only way to save his brother's soul. He actually sacrificed his soul for his brother's. And he made one of the first deals with Lucifer, my brother for me. And so he's paid the price for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And, so it's really very noble, even though he was a savage murderer. But now he's just a dude living in, Missouri, I think, going to the store, shucking corn. And I just, I kind of want to be his neighbor. I just want to go over for dinner sometime and be like, yo, Kane, what's up? And I'll be like, well, just watching Vanderpump Rules and, chilling.
Raising bees, as one does.
Yeah, just raising bees, the protector of the bees, because as he said, if the bees die, we die. So we got to keep a watch on those bees.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
And that's it.
Carole?
Well, that was one of the first ones I was going to mention too, because I do love Kane. I think Timothy Amundsen just does an amazing job. He's only in like the 2 episodes, but boy, he gives us such a meaty character, and he just commands the screen for every minute he's on. And let's not forget, he has this amazing mane of hair. As immortalized in the Hollywood parody. When they had to have. So I will therefore say Dog Dean Afternoon. I do love Dog Dean Afternoon, mostly because of the showcase of Jensen Ackles' comedic skills. The Monster of the Week is just very Monster of the Week, but watching Dean become dog-like, he just plays it so perfectly. He doesn't go over the top where we're just like, ugh. He just takes it right to the line where he doesn't even realize he's catching the paper wad that Sam keeps trying to throw away. Or he's barking at the mailman and he doesn't realize he can talk to the pigeons and the pigeons understand him. He's so totally in each of those moments, every moment that he is doggish, that it's hilarious and lighthearted and a joy to watch. It's almost like he gets a break from all the dark weightiness of, Cain's Blade and Abaddon and all of this stuff is going on. But hey, you know what? For one afternoon, he's a dog. He can flirt with a poodle. So it's really, really delightful to watch. And also for the scene where Sam is scritching the little Yorkie.
Les Jordog, that's my name for him, because it's Leslie
Yes,
Jordan.
voiced by the late and wonderful Leslie Jordan, which is just so adorable. So that's why for me, Dog Dean Afternoon must see 9.
And my dogs agree.
And Kitty agrees. Kitty
that's
agrees.
That's
not
mine.
Kitty.
That's Precious.
Precious agrees.
She does. She likes
all the dogs. All the dogs agree.
Yeah.
Okay, Anna.
Okay, so season 9 is bleak. And there aren't actually a ton of episodes that I really like in this season. This is not my favorite season, but I'm going to start with Bad Boys, where teenage Dean is in a boys' home because he got caught stealing peanut butter and bread, got arrested, and then John left him there so that he could learn his lesson. And also, I think John maybe also goes on a hunt while he's there, and it's just a really stellar example of John Winchester's A+ parenting. But we also have a case that's going on in present day at Sunny's Home for Boys. And so we get to see Dean, grown-up Dean, and how he just understands kids, like he understands boys. And so he's able to help Timmy, the boy in the episode, solve the case. But also we get these flashbacks of 16-year-old Dean and the girl that he falls in love with, and how when he's not tasked with taking care of Sammy and hunting demons and monsters, he can get good grades at school and join the wrestling team and take a girl to the dance. Well, I mean, invite a girl to the dance, even though he can't actually take her there. Except that in the end, it's Sam that Dean goes back to. It's not the last time that Dean Winchester picks his brother over a girl, but it might be the first time. And it's just sort of a sweet, heartwarming episode in the midst of a really otherwise bleak episode. This is also reasonably early, like when he's been lying to Sam, but also Sam hasn't found out all of the lies. And so their relationship is still pretty okay for now. And so this is, I think, it's just rewatched. I just finished watching it just before we started here. So it's sort of close in time and also to my heart.
Melissa?
I'm going to piggyback on that episode because it is one of my all-time favorite episodes of all 15 seasons. And I agree. This season's kind of bleak, and there's not a lot of joy and fun stuff. Dog Dean Afternoon is a great palate cleanser. Bad Boys, because we truly see, like, even though John's never on screen, we truly see that A+ parenting. He goes to pick, first of all, he leaves Dean there. Really? Seriously? He parked him there because he was off on a hunt. It wasn't like to teach him a lesson. That's not teaching your kid a lesson. He doesn't even go in and get him. He like honks the horn. He pulls the car up and he honks. And it's like, come on, really? Seriously? Your child is in a work home, foster care, whatever you want to call it, and you can't even get out of the car to go get him? Come on, John. And it is also that serious first moment for young Dean where we really get to see him choosing Sam, because Sonny asks him, do you want to stay? I can, like, Sonny's trying to say, like, listen, you can stay here with me. I'll fight for you to stay here with me. And Dean doesn't say anything. He's considering it. And you can see it on his face. He's really thinking about it. And he looks out the window. He sees Sam with the airplane. And that's it. There's no decision. He's giving up school. He's giving up a chance at normal. He's giving up being out from under John's thumb, all for Sam. And that is one of those, to me, real touchstones that we get to see. He's not John's good little soldier. He chose Sam. And that means that he had to choose all of the other stuff. He chose Sam. He didn't choose John. He didn't choose hunting. He chose Sam. And to me, that says so much about who those two are. So even though Anna talked about it, I had to piggyback off of it because all the feels for that episode.
And how many of us think that John told Sam to hang out that window? Because he knew that Dean would not. This is my headcanon.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, you don't think so?
No, I don't think that Dean,
Just-
I don't think that John had to tell Sam. I think Sam was just doing it. And I actually don't think that John, that would have occurred to John.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll split the middle on that one. I don't think John told him, but once John saw it, because he would have been aware of it, right? He didn't discourage him. That is one of those behaviors where it would have been like, Sam, get back in the, because he was like, his hand was like out the window playing with stupid. He would have stopped that nonsense, right? Because that's just who John is. So I'll split the difference on that one.
He knows how to manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to go for the first episode because without it, the rest of the season doesn't make any sense. And that is Think I'm Going to Like It Here. So at the end of the previous season, Sam was doing the trials. Dean barely talked him out of doing the third trial, which would have killed Sam. But Sam is very, very badly injured by doing the trials on a cellular level that even that isn't even a quick zap by an angel. And Sam's dying. And Sam bothered me on this, that Sam seemed a little too eager to die. He really wasn't fighting it very much, but that's kind of where Sam was at this point. I think he was tired after the trials, just worn out. And so he was ready to go, even if it meant leaving Dean. And Dean, meanwhile, is frantically praying. He can't get a hold of Castiel. He's frantically praying for any angel to come and save Sam, and he will owe them. And an angel shows up, says he's Ezekiel. When Dean does get a hold of Cass says, yeah, Ezekiel was a good guy. And so Dean makes a deal with Ezekiel, who tells him he has to possess Sam in order to heal him from the inside. Now, Dean knows that Sam's not going to like this. And we see Dean kind of wrestle with that, but it's the only way to keep Sam from dying. And even when it comes to tricking Sam into, going into Sam's mind and getting him to say yes to Dean, which is really saying yes to Ezekiel, there's Dean, gotta save Sam, which sets up the drama for the rest of the season, because Dean never really understood what a violation possession was until he finally gets possessed by Michael way down the line in season 14. Sam, on the other hand, this is like at least the third possession. It's like a cheap Hyundai. He has been turned over many times between Meg and Lucifer and now Gadriel, who Ezekiel turns out to be. And so that Dean's fundamental lack of understanding of what a violation it was to not only trick Sam, but to let someone possess him again is, the Winchesters don't use their words very well, but that's what sets up the conflict when Sam finally finds out. And it isn't that Dean didn't know this was going to bite him in the butt, but he just can't live without Sammy. And so when Sam finds this out and he's angry, that's when Dean goes away and takes on the mark of Cain. And it's his hopelessness that he has totally screwed things up with Sam, and that Sam doesn't want him around anymore. And then he goes out and takes the mark of Cain. So if you don't watch the first episode of the season, you don't understand most of what happens for the rest of the season and what's going on with the brothers. And they do eventually make up halfway through the season. And my one wish is that they'd have let Sam finish his sentence about if you want to work together versus if you want to be brothers. Dean takes it as he doesn't want to be brothers anymore. Sam is clearly saying we have to work harder to reestablish the trust to be brothers. Not that he doesn't want to be brothers, but that's in another episode. Lola, what's your second episode?
Okay, I'm going to go with episode 18, Metafiction. First of all, I love the meta episodes. We watched The French Mistake last night, me and Gail on the watch party. And I just love anything that steps outside the box and kind of makes fun of itself. It's just very clever and entertaining to me. And this one I thought was very entertaining. First of all, Metatron, love him, hate him, he's entertaining. He has great lines. He's just, he sits outside and just watches everything. He's the audience basically going, why are you doing this? This is not the way it would work. You don't do that. So the episode starts out with Metatron sitting at a desk staring at the camera, which generally is not done in shows. You don't look at the camera, but he's addressing the audience, asking, what makes a good story? Now, what I liked about this so much is it reminds me of the narrator from Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you've seen it, then you'll probably remember the narrator sits at a desk and there's like a globe and he's just pontificating on, the world. And then we had this, this house and he's just telling the story and it's all very like ominous and there's a stormy night and everything. So it reminded me of that. So that was already a good setup. And then you have Casa, I forgot the rest of it, but the porn show.
Casa Erotica.
Casa Erotica. That just tickled me to death. I just laughed my ass off when I saw that, and I still laugh. I'm like, what the? And it just comes out of nowhere. Cass is just standing in his motel room like, I'm being Cass, I'm wearing a trench coat. And he turns around and all of a sudden the TV turns on and it's Casa Erotica and there's Gabriel. And I love that dude, Richard Spite. I just love him so much. I've been watching. I knew who he was before Supernatural. He was on a bunch of sci-fi shows. Anyways, I just love that dude to death. And it was so good to see him again. I was so happy to see him again. And it was just hilarious. He had the mustache and it was just such a cheesy porn. And then he's there in the room, of course. And you get to see him for a little while. Of course, it turns out to all be a fantasy that Metatron cooked up. Spoiler. But it was still nice for a few minutes to think maybe he is still alive. So that was just a very entertaining. Oh, and another thing that I loved, Metatron gets tired of Cass not getting any of the pop culture references. So he uploads every book, TV, movie into his head. So now for the rest of the series, Cass is going to get all those references, which tickles me just as funny as can be. Although he probably doesn't really get why they're using the references, but at least he knows what they're talking about.
Okay. Carol.
I'm going to go with The Purge. Once again, oh, I just undercut Melissa, I guess. Once again, monster of the week. And the monster is like, okay, yeah, it's a monster. And it's really not monstery because they're not really evil and this kind of thing. Well, one of them was, but you know, hey, it's America and they're sucking fat out of people. You know, they're doing well. But the reason I like it is, once again, there's a lot of humor in it. And in a very dark season, you have to seize these humorous moments. We get to see Donna again. Donna is a great character. I think we've only seen her once at this point. And she still doesn't know what's out there yet. That's to come. But she's tickled to see them, and she's just delightful. You know, she just lights up the screen. She plays off them really well. They play off her. And so it's a very, you know, that's very enjoyable. We get to see Dean in a hairnet. And, you know, he's just disgusted with the spa food, but oh boy, they have that pudding. What is it? Was it sweet potato? Sweet potato pudding. Anyone who has had babies knows that, man, if there's one thing babies love, it's the sweet potato baby food, because it's like sweet and tasty and stuff. So sadly for Dean, it's also laced with sedatives, but hey. And of course, the final icing on top is Sam as the yoga teacher. And so we get to see Sam as we've never seen Sam dressed before. In a little clingy nylon singlet and shorts, and talking about having had bendy experiences in his past. And we see him flexing as he's doing downward dog and everything. And hey, you know, we're human. It's a beautiful, beautiful sight. So between the humor and the beauty, Melissa is so flustered, she's upside down.
I guess they taught that at Stanford, huh? Yoga positions.
Yeah.
So that makes it a really fun episode.
Okay. Anna.
So so there's a yoga teacher on Peloton named Dennis Morton, and every time I take his class, I think about that scene with Sam teaching yoga.
Does he look as good as Sam does?
He's pretty good looking, and he looks a little bit like Sam. So. Okay, so I'm going to next go with Slumber Party. So we have Charlie, who's back, who's been doing a little hunting on the side, and the boys are not very happy to hear that because hunting's dangerous, and she's been hunting by herself. And while she's doing, you know, she's doing well at it, you know, she killed a teenage vampire and a werewolf, I think, and now that she says that out loud, it sounds like a YA novel. She's just a little disappointed in how hunting is not as magical as she was hoping that it would be, because she's raised on Tolkien, and, you know, she's just like, where's my quest? Where's the magic? And it turns out that Dorothy from Oz has, you know, is trapped in the bunker because she appeared in 1935 at the bunker, having captured the Wicked Witch of the West and cut out her tongue. And she's trying to get the librarians, the useless librarians of the men of letters, to help her kill the Wicked Witch of the West. Her father, turns out, L. Frank Baum, was a man of letters, and the Wizard of Oz books are revisionist history and his attempt to deal with what happened to his daughter when she stowed away on one of his jobs and ended up getting lost in Oz. And so there's a lot of really delightful back and forth between Charlie and Dorothy about how the books aren't the way things happened, and Charlie saying, don't ruin my childhood, and Dorothy trying to sort of deal with the trauma of her magical, but also pretty traumatic childhood. Dean and Charlie bond over Dean's vintage porn collection, which he keeps meticulously organized. Less so the artifacts that he's like, found in the bunker. And he looks at her, he's like, don't judge me. She's like, fair, dude, fine, yeah. Charlie dies, sadly. Dean gets Ezekiel to bring her back to life. And, they have to sort of, Dean does not yet have to deal with the fallout of that, but Charlie's like, what, I died? What's going on? So Charlie knows that there's something happening between the boys, but put a pin in that because we'll deal with all that later. And Dorothy's got a really great motorbike. And then at the end, when she kills the Wicked Witch of the West with the ruby slippers, the point of the ruby slippers, Dorothy invites Charlie to join her in Oz. And there's her quest, there's her magic. She heads off down the yellow brick road with Dorothy into Oz in order to have her magical fun and adventures. And honestly, Dean and Sam should have just followed them down the yellow brick road because the rest of the season just goes downhill from there.
Okay. Melissa.
Since everybody has already taken all the ones I had marked, do you believe in miracles? Dean confronts Crowley about the mark, but here's the reason for this one, because Dean says, I'm proud of us, as he collapses into Sam's arms. And that whole I'm proud of us, fast forward several seasons, and like in the arc of this season, maybe that line, it's important, but it's not important with a capital I. But over the series overall, when we get to the end, that line really hits home. So that's my episode.
Also,
Okay.
best cliffhanger of the whole show, in my opinion. This one.
Best
The best
cliffhanger.
cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's Sam desperately trying to figure out a way to get Dean, and he's left his body in the bedroom. And when he comes back, the body is gone. And there's the keys and a note that says, let me go. And yeah.
And Dean opens his eyes
Yeah,
and
that
is a
moment.
demon.
Yeah. So very terrific cliffhanger. I'm going to go with Sharp Teeth because this sets up a whole new arc for Garth. We've seen Garth as the kind of nerdy hunter who has surprising depths to him, along with Mr. Fizzles. But we, in the past, we've seen that he doesn't hold grudges, that he has taken over for Bobby, that he's really got a lot more to him than we thought he was going to when we first met him. And in Sharp Teeth, we find out that he's also become a werewolf. And so that is a lot for the boys to adjust to, because this is Garth, this is their friend, but he's a werewolf. And so there's a learning curve there. They've been coming along on the idea that just because something is a supernatural creature, maybe it's not always evil, maybe they don't always have to kill it. And now that's really put to the test with Garth, but he's part of a werewolf family and a werewolf religion, and he's married. And it's also very normal, except for the hearts on the plate at dinner. And so the boys are wrestling with this, but it's Garth. And I think that's a very important step in their evolution, that we've been building toward throughout the series, and that goes on after this, is this idea of acceptance of supernatural creatures as long as they aren't hurting anybody. And that's a huge step for Dean, especially after, killing Amy Pond and all of those things. This is a lot for Dean, and he grows up, he steps into it. So that's a very important piece. Well, last round here, probably. Lola, pick one more.
Okay, I'm going to go with episode 2, Devil May Care. Not because it's such a stellar episode. Honestly, I found it to be a serviceable episode. some, characters we'll never see again who were just kind of place fillers, Bobby replacement type person and stuff. But there were some great quotes, and I have written them down, or actually copied and pasted them. Okay. So first, Kevin, he did overshare a little bit. When I think it was Dean or somebody comes into the bunker after the angels fell, Kevin's like, oh my God, everything went crazy. And then he said, it's been a bad couple of days. I haven't slept. I haven't eaten. I'm pretty backed up. And I was like, well, I was thinking, if you haven't eaten, should you really be backed up? Is there anything to be backed up? But okay. And then Dean says, okay, overshare, which is right. It was an overshare, but it was still a great, great quote. And Dean says burgers and silkwood showers on me. And he says that because they're in like an irradiated area. And Silkwood, I remember that from when I was a kid. That was Meryl Streep and Cher, I think. And that was about, like an irradiated era. So I recognized I guess I'm like Cass. I was just excited that I recognized the reference. His alias is Kevin Solo, of course, Han Solo. We all know that. And Crowley has the best quote of all. This is one of the best quotes ever. He says, torture, brilliant. Can't wait to see Sam in stilettos and a leather bustier really putting the S and M into Sam. And I was like, oh my God. And then it made me think of Rocky Horror Picture Show again with the bustier and, the dancing on the stage and everything. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. So just for the quotes, not the episode itself, but it's worth it for the quotes.
Okay. Carol.
I'm going to go with a rock and a hard place. And again, it's a lot of it is the humor. We have the boys investigating these deaths. It leads to this chastity cult. And so Sam and Dean get rehymenized so that they can join this as newly, revirgined. And so we have the brilliantly played scene where Dean talks about why sex doesn't work. But as he does so, he quietly works all of them up to this crescendo of frustrated lust and desire that is just hilarious. Papers are being wrinkled, and, skirts are being clutched, and oh my gosh, it is just so funny. And second to that is the great scene where he has realized that one of the women in this circle, in this group, is a former adult film star that he was very fond of. And so he's really thrilled to actually meet her, and he's telling her, and at first she's trying to say, no, it's not me. But he's so genuinely appreciative of her work that she realizes he's really complimenting her. He's not looking down on her or anything. He's genuinely, thrilled to be meeting her. And it leads to a passionate little scene between them, which unfortunately for us fades to black. But not before she jumps on him.
That's because it was CW, not Skinner Max.
That's right. So, and I do have to say that the monster of the week is played by Lindsay Booth, who is a great genre actress. And
Librarians, Relic Hunter.
Yep. A lot of things where she pops up. And so she really, again, embodies this great monster of the week. And I think that's just something that the Supernatural in general is so good with. They find these really good actors to have these one-shot, monster of the week or victim of the week or whatever. And it just flushes it out so much more. They're not just stick paper figures. And this is one of them. So I did enjoy that. And that's my vote for another must-see episode of season.
Okay.
There's also a really great quote from Jody in that one. Come on, you and Dean, that's something special, don't you think?
Yep. Anna?
Yeah, so I was gonna pick Rock and a Hard Place for my last round as well. You know, and so it turns out that Susie, she's going by the name Susie in this episode, which may or may not be her real name, but that's what she's using here. Her real name is definitely not Carmelita, which was her porn name, and she is from Casa Erotica 28, right? And Dean in particular remembers the scene with the tacos, which
It's always tacos with Dean.
it's always tacos with Dean, but also like erotic talk. Anyway, you do you, Dean. So yeah, I mean, I think the only other episode, or at least scene from an episode that I enjoyed was from Road Trip, where they're trying, Sam and Dean and Castiel are trying to get Sam to expel Gadriel. They finally figured out that it's Gadriel, it's not Ezekiel, he's a bad dude, and he shouldn't be possessing Sam, and Dean feels terrible about it. And so they're trying to figure out how to get how to get Sam to recognize that he is being possessed by an angel and that he can expel the angel. And so they're trying various ways and, you know, whatever, and ultimately settle on how Crowley can possess Sam without Sam's permission. And talk to him. And so they burn the anti-possession tattoo off of Sam's chest, and Crowley possesses him without his consent, and then talks him into realizing what's going on, and uses the safe word that the code word that Dean and Sam use, Poughkeepsie. And it takes a little bit of doing, but by using Poughkeepsie, Sam does finally realize that there is something going on, and so he is able to expel Gadriel, and it's a whole thing. Yes, so.
I thought that was just really such an inspiration to be like, oh, Crowley can do it, you know? And at first,
Yeah.
Crowley, why do I want Crowley and Sam? And then they're like, oh, well, that could work. And,
Well,
you know,
yeah.
it was really cleverly done, I thought.
Yeah, yeah. And Crowley is just so excited at the prospect of possessing one of the
Well, he gets
witches.
to wear Sam for a brief moment, you know, like,
right?
It's erotica.
He gets to be taller.
He does get to be taller.
He did want a couple extra inches.
He did.
I mean, he wanted them elsewhere, but yes, he did.
well, he probably
Well, he may
And
have
that
it
may
elsewhere
have paid
too.
off too. We
That
don't
may have paid off too. We don't
really,
know.
yeah, we really don't know.
All right,
That's
Melissa.
for fan fiction.
Unpopular choice. Bloodlines. Bloodlines is an essential for the season because you really need to see how a backdoor spin-off pilot should not be done.
Yep.
And how much an episode without Sam and Dean
Would suck.
is a total failure.
Yeah.
And they never go there again.
No. Well, I'm going to round us out with Holy Terror. Yeah, I got very tired of the Angel and Demon Wars, which went on and on and on, and I think long outlived their usefulness because maybe the writers couldn't come up with something else. But what's really lovely in Holy Terror is we start by seeing a church bus with a women's choir in it, and they are all very modestly attired with little twin sets, and they're singing This Little Light of Mine. And for any of us who may have grown up with that sort of thing, there's this immediate recognition of what this is. And maybe some of us were on that bus at one time. Yeah. And so we're wondering what's going on here. And this bus stops in front of a seedy bar. And there, all these, you know, little twin set singers get off and walk into it, and you're thinking, is this a Carrie Nation thing? Are they going to, you know, be upset that there's alcohol because it's a biker bar? No, it turns out that the women's choir and the bikers are both angel factions, at which point they duke it out. There is major bloodshed, and the choir wins and destroys all of the bikers. And then they start singing again in their little blood-stained twin sets as they get back on the church bus to this
Good
little
angels.
line. And, I would have loved to have seen a chorus of "If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands," but that's just me.
Oh, it would be "If you're happy and you know it, kill your enemies."
That's right.
Bang, bang.
So just for that scene alone, even though I'm not a big fan of the Angel and Demon Wars, that was just such a perfectly done setup for the episode that it kind of wins a honorable mention. Well, folks, we've blown through our time as usual. And before we leave, I want to have everybody get a chance to say where we can find you online. So, Lola?
My name's Lola Lariscy. You can find me just about anywhere. Google me, and it's going to be either me or a bunch of dead old ladies, and I'm related to most of them. Some of them I may not even know, but I'm related to them, and one day I'll probably be one of them.
Okay. Carole?
You can find me on Facebook in the TFWNC Facebook group, and also on many, 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 many continual panels. As Fire Sign 10, you can find all of my supernatural fan fiction on AO3, Mind the Tags. And as Ellis Colton, I am an MM romance writer, and you can find me and all of my social media links on my Facebook page.
Okay. Anna?
I'm Anna Kensing, and I write queer, contemporary, and paranormal historical romance, which you can find on my website at annakensing.com. And I'm on most social media sites with more or less the same name, although my active participation waxes and wanes depending on how much I'm procrastinating writing. And I too am on relatively frequent continual panels.
Which we love to have you. Melissa?
You can find Kitty and I here on Supernatural Continual Panels or in the TFWNC Facebook group that you moderate.
Okay. And I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com, and all my social medias are under one or both of those names. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. I do run the Supernatural TFWNC group here on Facebook. I'm a columnist for the Winchester Family Business blog, but most of the time I'm here on Continual. So thank you very, very much for being with us as wonderful, wonderful panelists. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural panels coming up soon. So we'll see you online.